Hey guys, and welcome back to week 7 of the Queensland High School Legends Championship. My name is Mitch. Of course, I'm joined as always by Max Formula One Newman. How are things this week, Max?
You know, I want to say things are great right now, but I have misplaced my pen, which means I have no fidgety tool. So my hands are just going to be erratic and crazy and all over the place. I hope we can all handle that. But no, in all seriousness, I'm pretty excited for today. It's going to be a fun one. We're nearing the end of the season, and we have two teams fighting to stay in that top 16. So it's going to be a real battle.
Yeah, today we got Somerset College versus Maroochydore State High School coming at you today. Both these sides are on 10 wins at the moment. They're below that kind of pack we got that is sitting up the top, and both these teams are, these teams that are going to be, around the middle trying to fight for, getting into the quarterfinal spots and maybe making the semifinals if they're doing all right. Somerset, especially last year, was quite good. I believe they were the team that was closest to beating our eventual champions, Kelvin Grove 4.
So we can take a look at the standings actually right now. They've just come up a little bit over your face right there, but you can see Mansfield Minotaurs, they're still atop the ladder, the last remaining undefeated team, as we saw last week. There are a few teams chasing them, but it's that little bit further down where we see the likes of Maroochydore and Somerset towards the bottom right there, each of them sitting on 4 wins, 2 losses now. 5 wins is sort of that golden point where you have to think you're probably going to be safe, and that's where each of these teams are going to be pushing towards in this one. So It's definitely going to be an evenly matched game, that is for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be very tight, both these sides, close together. But before we get into the raw, we got to our sponsors, of course. This Queensland High School League Legends Championship is again brought to you by Lenovo Legion, the gaming brand designed for both work and play inside and outside of your home. It's got stylish gaming hardware and a minimalist design that doesn't look out of place anywhere you go, whether that be the classroom, the boardroom, or around your own home as well. The high school esports in a very exciting place this year, and Lenovo is very excited to help support us and bring these young students, giving them new career options outside of just that of a traditional sports background. So a big thank you, of course, to Lenovo, who's supporting us and able to bring this broadcast to you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Lenovo. Big up. Let's see some poggers for Lenovo in the chat. But in all seriously, right now, I mean, without them, we wouldn't be able to have events such like this. And it's really great to see, more and more companies looking to help back the emergence of high school esports, be it here or really across the country, because it's a great trend and one that each and every week I'm jealous of. We weren't there in high school for this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
I hope the students are really enjoying it, because I know I'm enjoying watching it. I mean, high school esports is some of the most fun stuff to cast. And as a result, we're going to get an amazing game. I am sure we already spoke about before these two teams, where they're sitting in the standings. But now let's take a closer look at each of these lineups, starting, of course, with, I believe, Maroochydore. Yeah, Maroochydore will be the first one to come up right there. League of Yorick in the top lane, Boofycrackers in jungle, GoVi in the mid lane, Ab Skills on AD carry, and LoLXD Kappa 69. Probably the most Mountain Dew name here is going to be running support. And this is interesting to me because having a look at this lineup, the big name that you're going to have to watch out for is Boofycrackers. Yeah. He's typically an AD carry main, but he's going to be rocking the jungle today. And that's interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, especially last year is one of those names that if you're playing the championship last year, he was around. He was playing AD carry instead, and obviously he swapped up to the jungles. Also ranked up. I think he was a Platinum 4 player or Platinum 3 player last year. So obviously good to see that improvement now, ranking up into those high diamonds. So, obviously that great improvement is a young player, and he's someone who, potentially could take his esports career much further, being the age he is and being the rank he is. And if he gets, proper support and proper coaching, etc., and that's what this program's aiming to produce, is getting him going further and further. Obviously, that jungle role is a little bit more of a cerebral role to that AD carry, and obviously having a good experience in both those roles, he could be a very key player for them today. But for their opponents, they have a very strong roster on the red side. Somerset College, they got Natural Requiem up on the top side. Their jungler, I'm not even going to LL up. Jack 007 in the mid lane, Bennerokss in the AD carry, and Daddy rounding out that roster in the supportive role. And very balanced roster again for Somerset, similar to Maroochydore's in terms of ranked players across the board. Again, double L up. We're going to find something else to say, but sideways equals maybe.
Yeah, he's 2 squared.
2 squared?
Two squared.
Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, that's not bad. Anyways, he is actually there. Same rank as Boofycrackers, Diamond 4. A little bit more of a jungler naturally than Boofycrackers is, but obviously I don't know how much time he's been putting into that role, etc. And it's going to be a very exciting game to see exactly which role will prevail.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel this is going to be a battle of the junglers for sure. And on Somerset, I have to kind of give them a little bit of the edge as they have that natural high-skilled jungler, whereas Boofycrackers is kind of going in an off-role situation. Not to mention for Maroochydore, yes, they had a deep run, and there's a lot of familiar names actually on this Maroochydore lineup that we saw last year go all the way to the quarterfinals, I believe. However, I'm worried about the bot half of the map for this side. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They've kind of struggled a bit in solo queue. I know that's not always the best place to look right now, but they haven't had the best results right there. It does appear to be that way, and that could be an area that might get exploited against them. So I imagine that we're going to be seeing a more top half focused game plan coming from Maroochydore, a lot more focusing on the solo lanes. I'm hoping they go for something more win lane, win game in those solo lane situations and try to almost punch through that way. I like the mid matchup for Maroochydore. I like the top matchup for Maroochydore. It's bot lane and jungle where they might struggle.
Yeah, I mean, and also, myself, I definitely am looking to favor Maroochydore in this game, actually. Even though Somerset have probably the more natural jungler, right? And it's one of those things where you'd expect jungle to be the more important role, but the mid 2v2 for Maroochydore is definitely in their advantage, right? GoVi as a platinum player is quite strong. And that synergy he might have with Boofycrackers may be why they've moved them to these roles where they can kind of play off each other. And their main carry might actually be GoVi, and they found having that ability to play through the mid 2v2 is why Boofycrackers moved from the AD carry up into that jungle role. So I think there's a decent reasoning as to why they have moved this roster around, and I'd hopefully see them expect to draft a very strong mid 2v2, so like Elysian LeBlanc or something like that, a good combination that can really take over this mid lane and put a lot of pressure onto Jack 007 and forced 2 Squared to move around the map and really try to make sure Bennerokss and Daddies get really far ahead in that bot lane.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be the go for sure for Maroochydore. I mean, this initial jungle pathing is going to be so fascinating to me because I'm a big proponent of early game jungle pressure gives you that early lead. And with these two teams in the standings that they are, I kind of have that expectation that with a lead, they should be able to snowball it and take the game from that. So I'm actually putting a lot of pressure and a lot of stakes. Like I'm pretty much all in on jungle presence this game. I think that's going to be the deciding factor. And again, that's kind of why I'm looking more towards Somerset, because I just feel they have the more natural jungler here. Nothing against Boofycrackers. You don't make it to Diamond without knowing what you're doing. And that comes not just from a mechanical sense, but a game sense as well. You should know where to be, what to do. But I'm always going to favor the guy who got there doing it on his own role. I think 2 Squared, as we're calling him right now, is probably going to be a bit more natural on that role, have that slight edge. And I'm expecting him not necessarily to get his lanes ahead, but almost punish Boofycrackers. If he makes one wrong step, one wrong pathing play, I want to see the punishment come from Somerset.
The one thing I would actually have to say is if you look at the players' champion pools individually, you look at jungle meta at the moment, right? In the jungle meta, or the stuff like the Trundle, the Graves, not necessarily the most invade-heavy picks. And 2 Squares have had a lot of time on this Graves. Actually, it's one of his most played in solo queue, which therefore translates to me that the lane matchups realistically are a little bit stronger for Maroochydore besides that bot lane, right? GoVi is going to be probably their main carrier outside of the jungle. And I wouldn't be surprised if I see 2 Squared go towards that jungle role and pick the Graves and look to farm up and get really strong and then come out during the mid game and give up that early jungle pressure. And then from there on, kind of try to really push that lead he builds for himself just by farming, invading, etc. And actually carries the team from the jungle with a pick like a Kindred or a Graves, which is something that's able to carry from the jungle rather than a more supportive jungle like a Trundle or a Lee Sin.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very curious to see. I hope they go for what you're saying right there. Again, I love the aggressive junglers, and I think that is something that would benefit, especially if you're able to invade, especially if you're winning lanes, and then you get that lane support as well.
Yeah.
That said, though, I've just noticed the timer has gone to 0, so we should be kicking off these pick and bans at any given moment. So there's a lot of people in this Twitch chat today. I kind of want to see some of that support because, hey, we're at home. I can read that Twitch chat. Any questions, I might read them out, assuming they're appropriate and we don't go into emote-only mode. But so go ahead, show some support for your school if you are there. Maroochydore versus Somerset. I want to hear who you guys like. I'm seeing a lot of emojis right now and a lot of emotes, so we might be in emote only. Oh, no, there we go. Maroochydore cheers coming through, so We like to see that support. Want to see vocal fans for these schools right now. Players are still loading in. They're just getting into their order, and we will be kicking this match off. So I'm excited for this one.
What is your prediction for this match, Max? Because it's I haven't heard you
Somerset.
make a decision. Somerset, you think Carlin is going to be the jungle?
Yeah. I'm sticking with my Somerset prediction.
Fair enough. I think one of the biggest things we're going to have to look at, though, is obviously these lanes individually, right? Because when you have a game that's so jungle focused, it's that jungle that impacts these lanes individually all over the map. But I think it's either going to be that early jungle pressure, or if one side decides to go for a more scaling jungle pick, like a Graves or a Kane or something like that, right? Or a Shyvana even that pops off a little bit later into the game. If the lanes can actually deal with the pressure from the enemy team and still be in a good enough position to kind of spike once they're hitting that comp. So this pick ban is going to be very interesting, and hopefully we see some decent drafts out of both these sides that give you some, realistic analysis kind of points, not like Malphite mid or something dumb like that. So I mean, fingers crossed. This is high school esports, so there's a good chance we see like Master Yi, Timo, and I don't know, like Vayne 80 carry, right? But we can only be hopeful as the teams are finally getting ready to jump into game. We shouldn't be too much longer. A little bit of a late start this week, but given that last time we did cast Somerset was week 1 of this competition, and we didn't get a game to cast at all due to the whole game.
We had a bit of a blackout internet situation at UQ, and that was a little bit unfortunate. We're still waiting for one more before we kick it off. Although I'm going to roll it back a little bit and take a small bit of offense to something that you said, saying that Malphite mid is something stupid. Look, okay. I was, warming up a bit earlier today, spectating some of my friends play. A quick little shout out to 1-2-2 rocking the Malphite mid earlier, and he went 15-0 against a Syndra. He got that hard AP, would just go Q and then all in, and it was a kill every time. So, sometimes in these individual matchups, in these lane dominant situations, going a bit off kilter, going something that does ridiculous amounts of damage and has an easy combo to pull off, like a Malphite mid, will get you a win.
From time to time, we'll see. I'm not ready to just yet. I'm ready to sell my soul to the devil, but we should be jumping into game very shortly. As you can see there, the timer does redraft soon, which means it's a very exact amount of time as we'll be jumping in as soon as we possibly can. Another rundown for the sides. I mean, besides this mid matchup, I think this top matchup is actually going to be quite important, right? League of Yorick, a player that we saw last year, was still able to be, come back again, obviously, and get involved 2 years in a row, which is something you like to see the growth and improvement of these players. And against Natural Requiem up in that top side, Natural Requiem isn't I don't think he's a natural top laner, is he? I think he's a jungler, I think. But either way, that matchup I think is going to be quite crucial, right? Because I think you can say the bot side probably goes in favor of Somerset, the mid lane goes in favor of Maroochydore, and it's this top side that's going to really throw the matchup one way or the other, because that's the lane that you kind of go, well, that's besides the jungler, right? Those 2 lanes you go, oh, they're quite evenly matched. It's hard on a ranked or just simply OP.GG level to analyze it and go, I think this player might be better than this player with sides without seeing them play. So obviously champion picks as well will pertain to that. So if something like an Ornn into GP, it's kind of like, oh, well, it's not sure muchness, right? But
I guess going off that line of thought, though, right now, when, some of these solo matchups are going to be that important, and kind of to steal a question from the Twitch chat right here, who do you think would be like the most powerful champion to take in this situation right now? Like, who is sort of that high priority who you think would give one of these teams that edge?
Up in the top side?
Yeah, anywhere on the map, really. Just straight up, who is the best champion right now?
I think the most broken champ is probably Syndra, right? Syndra's busted. Syndra's like super OP when it comes to pro level. I mean, it depends on level. Right? Like this level, most OP champ is like Mal or Annie, right? Because perma CC, good damage, good scaling, not too difficult to play, like Nocturne, champions like that. But if you look at like high level pro, like Syndra's busted. His perma rate, lane priority, if you're good enough at a super dominant, scales well into mid game. I think she's pretty much perma banned in like all pro play.
See, I mean, I want to agree with you, but again, in my, my practice, my game that I watched, I saw Syndra just get absolutely bodied by a hard AP Malphite. So I'm going to go with hard AP Malphite mid is the premier champion that all these teams should be prioritizing, and I'm going to say that with the straightest of straight faces right now. Clearly, that's what we want to see in this one. So to answer your question for real, no way, bro. It's a mid laner. It's whoever you want to take mid, but I think the key things that you need, it's pretty much any mid laner that can provide a crowd control and one shot an opponent. They're probably going to be up there for the most broken champion in the game right now. So there's your answer.
There you go. It's anything. I mean, Aphelios pretty.
Aphelios is really strong.
Who's that lady? Callista. Callista's busted, actually. I forgot about Callista. But Callista's too hard to play. This is a dead champion. It's boring to watch. I don't like watching Callista top.
Wow. No one likes watching Callista top.
It's just not fun. It's just not entertaining.
I mean, if we're going to go with the most entertaining champion to watch, I might be alone in this, but I miss the tank meta, and which is why I love seeing Ornns and Zax and things like that. Give me back. I miss Xayah.
I like tank meta. It's very easy to analyze meta. Yeah, top lane are going to hit each other. Jungle, they're going to hit each other. AD carry, they're going to get scaling. Let's go. Let's watch these team fights.
I got into a little bit of a debate with this the other day, and this is a controversial opinion, and I will admit, I'm wrong, but I don't care. All AD carries are the same. It doesn't matter. They die early, do damage late. They all build the same. They all just stand there and have to rely on their team to protect them. Like the differences between them are minuscule. I know this is technically incorrect, especially in higher and higher levels, but from a casting perspective, I'm not going to lie. It's like, oh yeah, the AD carry has 3 items. Okay, they're now a threat.
other than stuff like Lucian, right? Like the role is like identical. Not many. They're all very much cut and paste, which is why you see like 80 carries of like Mastery 7 on like 8 different champions, because it's effectively like the same thing. Yeah. There's like slight variations. It's like basically, I'd say like Aphelios, like Lucian. No, not Lucian. What's the other one? I'm trying to think of that. Oh, like you could look at like Siva, Ashe, Aphelios, Twitch, Kog'Maw. Are like pretty much all the same. Vayne are like all the same champion, but just spike at different areas and have different strengths. Like Cog, Twitch are like that. We don't do anything in lane and we scale later. Vayne's like we do okay in lane and we scale later. Then Kai'Sa's like I'm decent early game. Vayne decent early game. Varus okay early game. Like they're just all like very cookie cutter champs. I mean, I would say the different ones are stuff like Jhin, Lucian, Draven, Ez, MF, and
MF's not that different.
I've got to disagree. MF's different because he's not auto attack based, right? You don't build attack speed on.
I mean, but she is auto attack based. The thing is, you just auto someone different with each auto.
Yeah. It's more like it's less of a consistent. She's less consistent DPS, right?
Yeah, I suppose that is the case. So I don't know. This is welcome, by the way, as we're still waiting to get this game kicked off underway. This has now turned into the We Don't Like 80 Carries podcast. Apparently, nothing against people who play 80 carries. Honestly, I only dislike the champion pool because I cannot play it. I do not have the mechanics. I'm old. My reflexes are too slow. And to everyone who can play 80 carry, trust me, you do have my respect because it's just a skill that is not within me. I just wish you guys had a more varied champion pool so we could see those mechanics on different champions.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's very much it looks like we could be drafting to drafts. Everyone's finally into lobby, but I mean, it's one of those roles where it is very much, there isn't a lot of difference between like each of the champions, but there's still I don't know. The reason why I hate bot lane the most is mostly because I just dislike playing it. I hate playing that role because I hate laning with someone else who's just bad at the game.
Yeah, I suppose. But more importantly, we have finally made it to our picks and bans just before that 10-minute, I think, cutoff point where stuff might happen. I'm not too sure exactly, but we beat it. It doesn't matter. We are in it. And apparently, according to both of these teams, it's actually Xayah and Zoe as the 2 most overpowered broken champions.
I mean, Kai'Sa's a bit of an interesting ban, but Zoe is definitely a champion that does sit on the bench quite a bit. Disappointing. I love seeing Zoe. It's a really strong champion. But Xayah is it's definitely a target ban, right? One of the strongest champions of last year, but this year hasn't seen as much prevalence.
Yeah, we're also going to see the Graves taken away. That's another champion that's just been rising in popularity due to, I believe it was some of the item changes. I forget the exact item. And that's really bad of me, and I do apologize, but there was a change to his build that all of a sudden just made Graves incredibly viable, and we've been seeing him all over the map.
I'm pretty sure he got a base ID buff too. I got a 2 base ID buff.
It was the Death Dance, thank you. It was the Death Dance. Yeah, it was the Death Dance changes that made him and really a lot of some of those bruiser champions a bit stronger in the meta right now, and we've started to see Graves back in the jungle, sometimes even in lane. as well. Rek'Sai will be the third ban for the Maroochydore side as they kind of target a bit of everywhere with their bans. And I like seeing the jungle bans. I kind of wish there were a couple more because, again, 2 squared, I really recognize as that big threat for Somerset that Maroochydore is going to have to try and contain.
I mean, I think they just take out his 2 most played champions, most meta preferred champions, Graves and Rek'Sai, of course, both really strong. Graves, I'd probably prefer, right? It's got that stronger overall game impact, but Rek'Sai itself has a very strong early game. And MF and Kled taking off the board, both very good champions in their own rights. Not necessarily the most top tier champions, but Kled's something I think is super sleeper OP. I think he's really good into a lot of matchups, especially this Ornn that's been locked in. Obviously, one of the premier top laners at the moment. We'll have to see exactly what Natural Requiem and Somerset reply with in a second. But it's actually not been that meta of a draft so far. And as we see continuing, the Maokai locked in. Looks like it's going to be tank time up on the top lane.
Yeah, it's going to be tank time up top, and that actually has me very surprised considering, you know, when we looked at these lineups, I felt for sure at least one of these teams was going to try and prioritize the top half of the map. I kind of thought it would be more Maroochydore. That said, Ornn can be a bit of a lane bully, especially into a Maokai, so I still kind of like Maroochidore's top half a bit more at this stage. Granted, jungle picks are going to change that, and something like a Rengar is exactly what I was hoping to see from this Somerset side.
That is a spicy pickup, my dude. That's a that's a bold pick, especially in blind. I was expecting to see jungle, but obviously both these sides, so not opting for a draft strategy, just going to pick from top to bottom. And Boofycrackers has now got a prime answer on the Maokai Rengar. Something like the Zac could be quite good. So obviously both of these junglers not necessarily going for a more carry-oriented playstyle. Obviously, Rengar is, but Rengar is a champion we just have not seen ever since he got reworked. And Kassadin is a very interesting draft from Maroochydore.
Wow. Yeah, they're going very late. That is very late game already. I mean, obviously, whenever you have a Kassadin and an Ornn, scaling is going to be a priority, especially when you get a tanky jungler like a Zac. And I'm not sure I like this Galio hover. I'd like to see something a bit more aggressive right now.
Yasuo's so good into free win.
Well, we're going to see the Galio, and I mean, I would have liked to see something more aggressive at this stage. I feel like right now, Maroochydore has pretty much given up a lot of early map pressure, and I want to see Somerset punish it. Now, 2 squared could be thinking he can do enough on this Rengar to provide that early pressure, and he very well could be. He is that skilled of a player. However, it now makes this bot lane very interesting because I want to see roaming supports almost from both sides.
I mean, I think Galio is actually not a bad pick, right? Galio has been rated right in the mid lane once again due to the fact that he's really good into melee range AP assassins. And what's Kassadin? AP melee range AP assassin, and he also has that ultimate to really help support Rengar once he hits that level 6 in the mid lane. And so Rengar can go for it. I really hope this Rengar goes for a very heavy invade style, because the problem with Zac is he is one of the least priority oriented junglers. He's very bad in pro play and doesn't get picked on in pro play unless he's super overpowered, because he has so exploitable in the early game if you invade him in the jungle, because he has very, very low health clear, not a very fast clear. He relies on his laners having to come and help him, and in the early game, if you're forcing your opponent to come and help you in your jungle, that means their laners are getting further and further ahead. So this game is going to be majorly on this Rengar to put the Zac under pressure and punish this pick from Boofycrackers.
Yeah, but the thing that the Rengar has in his favor right now is 2 winning lanes with the solo lane, so it's going to be even harder for Boofycrackers to kind of get that lane support. Now, granted, the Ornn probably, I take that back, Ornn should actually be all right into the Maokai. I'm worried about the Kassadin and the Galio, especially pre-level 6.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be something very punishing as we see the Lulu, Jhin, Jinx, and Leona ban, so some of those good roaming supports are actually still available. I would like to see a Nautilus locked in really by either team at this stage. Just something to kind of help out each of these junglers, especially like a Nautilus Rengar connection right now for the side of Somerset could be very, very deadly. Ashe, not so much a pick I like right now. I feel like you need a bit more damage, but more crowd control is always a good thing.
I think, I mean, Daddy is a player who's actually a mid laner. What he plays is Lulu, which is off roll. I'd actually love to see them pick up a Malzahar, because that's what he plays mid lane. Malzahar support, or something that provides engage. I mean, Leona's out of the way, but you need something to help Galio dive in, right? Because the problem is with this Galio, with the team comp they've drafted so far, is it's only going to be a defensive Galio, and that Xayah is a very bad lock-in.
Yeah, I wanted
more damage, man. You don't need more damage. You got good damage.
I disagree. I didn't really think that Ashe brought enough damage, but that's okay. I mean, there's now a lot of damage on this Somerset side, and I mean, this bot lane is going to provide a lot of poke and a lot of harassment. That said, LoLXD Kappa 69 on the Yuumi might be able to sustain it. Again, I really would have liked to see the Nautilus taken by Daddy. And I feel like that would have been the ticket. Just because of the dive potential that you would then have, even with the enchanted crystal arrow. Actually, if anyone gets caught out of position, in particular when ab skills 5 on that Xayah, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. And why I don't really like the Xerath is if we do get late, that's not really a lot of tools to protect Bennerokss from GoVi on this Kassadin. Because if we get late, GoVi can completely take over this game. I know we're talking a lot about like this early mid game, but if we get late, Somerset's going to be in a lot of trouble, largely due to that Kassadin, and there aren't a lot of tools on this red side to deal with it.
Well, once they hit, I say 25 minutes, the game's kind of over, or 30 minutes. If it's 8k ahead, that game's over because Kassadin's just way too strong. He's just going to take over and just demolish the entire backline. They're not going to be unable to kill Ornn and Zach, and Xayah's going to be able to output ridiculous amounts of DPS. One of the reasons why this Xerath is such a poor pickup in the draft, especially if you're 5th pick red, is because you know they've locked in Xayah Yuumi as the enemy bot lane. Yuumi is a champion that does really, really good into poke because she has such good sustain. Xayah as well is a great pickup actually for the Maroochydore side into this comp that they've drafted because they've obviously gone for a pick comp, right? They can't really 5v5 versus Maroochydore because they don't have that really consistent DPS mid laner. Obviously, Xerath is kind of that pseudo pick now, but now they have this Galio that doesn't have any engage to follow up on, right? The Galio ultimate is a great tool when it's used with other dive tools. The only diver they really have is Rengar, and when it gets into these late game team fights, especially versus the CC of Zach and Ornn, and coupled with the ultimate of Xayah, he's going to be very difficult to actually find opportunities to dive in on this Xayah because you have the Yuumi Q to slow him down when he goes to that final jump when he's in his ultimate. The Ashe as well can be easily dodged by the Xayah. The Xayah can also ult the Rengar, ult when Rengar attacks, so it can be invulnerable to that. And then Galio, therefore, has a poor ultimate to come into. Obviously, the whole idea of this identity of this comp is Maokai, Galio, Rengar dive, and then Xerath and Ashe can kind of sit behind and just get long range DPS down. The problem is Xerath probably won't be ending up doing enough damage because he's not going to get enough gold in that support role, and he's not going to be utilized enough as a pick in lane purely because this Yuumi is going to be able to sustain all the poke that Xerath's going to be able to dish out. It's similar to like a luck support, right? You need to have that ability to poke out in lane and provide pressure by forcing your opponent into backs by getting a health lead. But when you have a Yuumi, it just negates that poke. And because you already had that Yuumi locked in, you should have gone for something more engaged focused like a Nautilus.
I'm just going to keep saying Nautilus. I'm just going to keep repeating the Nautilus trend. I have turned into a Nautilus fanboy, and part of me is sad that we're not going to see one in this matchup. The one thing, though, that I feel is still going to be very important is, although, yes, the bot lane might not be ideal, I still feel like Bennerokss, I'm sorry if I get that name, Bennerokss, I'm sorry if I get your name wrong, but I feel like the bot lane from Somerset is still actually going to have lane priority, especially early against ab skills and LoLXD Kappa 69. So that has that going for them. And I also see Jack 007 having lane priority over GoVi early. And I feel that might open the door for some invades from 2 squared. And I feel Boofycrackers definitely is going to struggle. And he's going to be forced more on the top half of the map, which should, in theory, give a lot of these early dragon priorities over to Somerset. And for a team that's going to want to accelerate the game, having those early dragon priorities is going to be essential. And I feel like this draft almost played right into their lap in that sense. So I definitely can see a world where Somerset looks to snowball through this bot lane. And while Xerath might not get a lot of kills in gold generation in a standard lane where no kills happen, if you have a jungler who's ganking all the time and giving that pressure, and you're actually getting some supports and maybe even getting a couple kills as well with his cheeky little ignite that he took, he could be getting gold in that facet. Again, it's sort of like win lane, win game. And I'm definitely looking to see if Somerset can just roll through this bot half the map and sort of look to snowball things that way and then put the pressure right back onto Natural Requiem and seeing what he can do. Put the pressure onto League of Yorick and seeing what he can do on this Ornn in the top lane to sort of counteract that.
Yeah, precisely. It's going to be a very mid-focused, jungle-focused game. The only problem is with picking this Rengar is the fact that Rengar is a early game jungler, right? He's a level 6 jungler. He finds it very hard to impact the game prior to level 6. Sure, he can get a couple of decent ganks out if the laners are positioning too close to the bushes, or he gets a good lane gank off. But it's just so difficult, especially because he has no engage, right? Actually, I think the best pick for Somerset would have been the Thresh. I think Thresh would have been really strong here with the ability to lantern in the Rengar and also have that engage and save the immobile Ashe, because it's just one of those things where it's quite essential for them to have a tool to protect some of these champions on their side, and they're being unable to do so due to the fact that they've just got this long range damage that can't really do anything versus Kassadin, Xayah, and Yorick. I mean, Ornn, sorry.
That said, right now we are about to kick things off and get underway. But before we do, one last huge thank you to our sponsor for all of this, Lenovo. Without them, events like this would not be possible. So a huge shout out to our sponsor, Lenovo. Big ups to you. That said, though, we are on the rift. We are about to get underway. So on my mark, everyone, when I say go, we will kick this off. 3, 2, 1. Go on to the rift. We are once more. It is on the blue side, the likes of Maroochydore taking on Somerset on the red side, and we might be going straight into a pause. Nope, not quite. The disconnect, reconnect is all good, and very interesting to see Somerset already moving as a group of 5 to look to get that early pressure on the bot lane.
Yeah, exactly right. Getting this early invade as the essentially better early would be a big advantage to them. Getting this Zac behind early on is what exactly they need to do. If they're unable to do this, it's going to be very difficult, but obviously stepping over that ward means it won't be the case.
Yeah, that is a really good ward that I believe was put down by LoLXD cap at 69, and you can see immediately Maroochydore is going to get some vision on their own, invading up top. Boofycrackers getting quite deep in there, dropping his own vision. That said, though, good tracking at the moment coming from the side of Maroochydore. They know exactly where this group of 5 is moving. They've avoided a lot of the pressure, and they're still sitting on the ward, so this delayed invade is just not going to work.
I mean, the only problem is that these wards have been expended in defensive positions, right? It's kind of coupled by the fact they've put their wards deep in the jungle, but I feel like the ward placement of Kassadin there on the side of the red buff on both sides of the map of Maroochydore are quite wasted wards early on. And it means that, if this Rengar is going to look for a river gank or a lane gank early on, the blue side's going to be quite defenseless to it. Obviously, Rengar is going to be starting at this red buff. It's going to be advantageous to him. And I don't think Zac's going to be able to come in and invade and take that buff off the Rengar. So that's going to be Rengar instantly starting with a 3 buff. Unless this Zac changes to invade, but I think it could go very sour very quickly.
I mean, I still want to see Boofycrackers actually attempt the invade right now, because he will be able to track 2 squared and where he goes early. And you can see, if he can rush towards that buff, he might be able to pull this one off. But as a response, if 2 squared wants to just take all of the jungle for himself on the bottom half of the map, he can. And all of this is under the assumption as well, we don't see any pressure coming in terms of ganks. The taunt actually does connect from Jack 007, and GoVi takes a lot of abuse. He's going to hold on to his flash for now, but that's a lot of lane priority already lost, and now you can see the collapse onto Boofycrackers.
Yeah, and he hasn't actually finished that buff either up. He's going to flash over the wall and take the buff. So, not good.
What a play by 2 squared right there. Flashes over the wall, gets the buff with the smite. It's going to go ahead and get first blood as well, and this is the exact start that Somerset was looking for. Accelerate 2 squared, the guy built to be the star of the team, and already with the kill in under 3 minutes.
The one thing I will say, if I'm going to be overcritical of this, is he didn't level up his E for a second, because when he came into that gank, he had an empowered ability, and if he was able to get that route onto the Kassadin wouldn't have been able to get away, or at least would have gotten a flash, since he's playing quite close to his tower. But Zac at the moment, obviously very far behind in this game, going for that invade, as being caught out, being shut down, given the fact that Maokai had priority up in that top side. Rengar is now massively ahead, and it's going to be really, again, on this 2 squared to really push this lead he's got, and then gifted to him early game by Maroochydore, and see exactly what he can do, because this Kassadin is just sticking to that bomb.
Yeah, it's going to be the case for sure. It's about how you can accelerate this lead. What more can you get? Boofycrackers, unfortunately, he's not going to be relevant for a long time. And there's the flash already spelled from GoVi, as we are seeing this Galio at work in the mid lane. All of this pressure already established from that level 2 gank, which took GoVi low. Now he doesn't have flash. He's in a losing matchup, so things are rough for the mid lane. Things are rough for the jungle right now for Maroochydore, and it's going to take a strong, I feel, individual performance from someone in order to bring them back.
I mean, the fact that this Kassadin... Oh, no, Galio.
Oh, he's a little too deep. Actually has to flash to get out of there. He didn't get that auto he was looking for, so that could turn into an opening in the future right now. So hope is not lost for this Maroochydore side.
I mean, this Kassadin's kind of doomed to this mid lane, right? He's being forced by pressure. The Galio expended another TP from GoVi, and unfortunately he burned his flash going for that extra play, as we see Ashe poking heavily down onto this Xayah. Yuumi not being able to paint up fast enough, and that's the heal burnt by LoLQHS. We did talk about this in the pregame, right? This bot lane could be a massive difference. Obviously, the rank difference isn't too much. It's Silver 3 and Silver 4 versus Bronze 1, Bronze 2. But, you know, that small rank difference might actually mean quite a lot when it comes to playing with priority, as the Xayah Yuumi should actually have a priority in this lane. But you see this poke from the Xerath pick that I ridiculed is actually paying off not too bad. Yuumi being unable to sustain it just yet. Obviously, waiting to get that Athene's or what's the other healing one that boosted? Ardent Sensor to really sustain through this lane. But before then, this damage coming down is just so much from the side of Somerset being unable to dodge those skill shots.
Yeah, Daddy just putting in work right now in the bot lane, mid lane as well, going Somerset's way. The first dragon, that important dragon priority we discussed before, is currently going to be going to Somerset as well, as Jack007 looking for a 2v1 fight right now, and he's still quite healthy. That Ocean Drake is secured as Boofycrackers still level 3, only 17 CS to his name, wants no part of Jack007, who can just do whatever he wants, it feels like, in this mid lane.
Yeah, he's got the level 6 now too, so Rengar's been enabled more trade on the top side. Ornn just doing so much damage with that passive. But yeah, now that Galio has this, he enables the Rengar to go for more aggressive dives, because if he ever gets caught out in the jungle in a 2v1 with this Ornn's top side priority, he can just simply ult in, do a big CC damage, buy the Rengar a lot of time to either escape or continue to push with more damage, given the fact that they believe the Galio ultimate gives you, is it 40% damage reduction now? And I think it also applies a debuff of damage to the enemy too, because I think they stop you from using it defensively or something. But yeah, regardless, that Grand Entrance, I believe, is the name of the ability. It's really going to force or enables this Rengar to do a lot more. Obviously, still looking for his level 6. I hope he goes for more aggressive play and push this Zac behind, given the fact that he knows his buff spawning very soon.
I mean, it's always a sad time when you're a jungler and you're lower level than your support. Fortunately for Boofycrackers, he was able to get to that level 4 after that Raptor camp. However, he is still going to be playing a catch-up game with a lot of losing lanes, and we're already starting to see the invade coming from 2 squared, not even letting him have wolves. Wolves are like the simplest one to grab, and Boofycrackers is denied even that. This poor Zac, it started bad, and it's just getting worse and worse for him.
The level 6 Rengar is also now available, so the thrill of the hunt can come out from the Rengar. Put more pressure across the map, maybe look for a play towards the bot side before Xayah has a 6, given the fact they're being pushed so heavily. He's got a decent dive potential as well in that bot side, with the Galio being able to come through and help support us. We see, ooh, important stun lane.
That's a good stun. Yeah, that's a very good stun, and the damage just coming down. But we're starting to see that sustain come from low XD Kappa 69. As Abskills heals most of it right back up, and those mana bars are still very healthy. 3 fairy charms picked up by the Yuumi just to make sure we can spam what we need in the lane, and that is going to help a lot. As you can see, a lot of poke being used, but Abskills perfectly fine.
Well, Galio getting a bit confident here in this mid lane.
He's got backup with 2 squared coming from behind right now. The gank comes through, but Jack007 will get the kill, and now we're starting to accelerate these already winning lanes.
Yeah, T-Mat rush as well from the Rengar means he's just that little that kind of relies on that T-Mat. I mean, Lee Sin doesn't rely too much, but you know, that big T-Mat nerf was a reason why Rengar fell so far out of meta, and one of the reasons why he, you know, hasn't come back into prevalent pick rates, because he just relies so heavily on this T-Mat to just get going early in the game, and it's such a big investment, 1365 gold to put towards an item, that, you know, this jungle item power spikes is what really makes junglers so strong, because they're so gold efficient, and denying yourself that warrior enchant is really pushing them back further and further.
Abskills, though, is in a lot of trouble right now as the artillery comes raining down. Abskills going to be able to dodge most of it, it appears, and he will still be fine, but so much pressure being put all across the map right now. Even natural Requiem dropping those twisted advances right onto Liga Yorick. No one's just being given any space to work with. And unfortunately for Maroochydore, you knew this early game was going to be bad. It's all about surviving to that late game, but looking at a near 3K deficit approaching the 10-minute mark, this snowball is only going to get worse and worse with the Eye of the Herald picked up by 2.
Interesting build as well coming out of the Kassadin. He's delayed his early items by going for a cooking pot and a Dark Seal. Has also looks like he's going to go towards the Rod of the Ages. Obviously, he's one of the core items on Kassadin, but in a game like this, I don't think you need the additional scaling that Roa gives you. I think the Seraphs is more than enough, and given the fact that you're already far behind, delaying your power and influence over this game is only going to make it much worse. So obviously, might be building a Sheen instead and going towards that Lichbane, which I'd much prefer to see Seraphs into Lichbane rush from the Kassadin. But if he does go towards that Rod of Ages, it's going to be a much stronger Kassadin later in the game. But for now, it could be the end of the game before he even gets going.
Yeah, absolutely, because essentially what that will do is just give over like almost 100% that next dragon, which will be a Cloud Drake, to the side of Somerset, as you won't have any mid priority or mid pressure right there, and that's just accelerating the clock for this Somerset side. Again, that dragon priority, I still feel like it's going to be a huge thing. That Cloud Drake is actually going to be spawning within the next minute or so, and already you can see 2 Squared has made his way to the bot half of the map, whereas Boofycrackers is still playing the catch-up game, nearly double the CS down against 2 Squared, and 2 Squared actually might look for almost a bit of a solo player right now on the bot side of the map. You can see Jack 007 rotating down, so that heroic entrance is going to be key should anyone step forward to challenge this dragon priority, but it does appear as if Maroochydore is going to be doing the smart thing. They're going to sit back, and I believe this second dragon is just going to be given over for free.
Yeah, and it's a bit upsetting for Somerset, the fact that Ocean Dragon there, as you see, a very aggressive play, and the Herald dropped as well on the bot side, obviously giving them pressure to take that dragon. But hopefully for them, they do manage to pick up the Infernal Dragon.
Tower's gone. We could see the Crystal Arrow come through. Here comes some more artillery. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow actually waited till after the Featherstorm to be dropped. Smart play coming from Bennerokss, but Daddy was the one who got the kill. Very, very well played, though.
I've never seen the Herald auto oh, here we go.
Oh, diving in is Jack 007, used his flash, but didn't really get the taunt, so GoVi is going to be able to get away. A teleport coming through as well as Liga Yorick is going to blow that Ornn Horn. It's the call of the Forge God. Where's the hit? It only went one way. It didn't go the other way. GoVi's all alone. Somehow he does get the kill, but he's probably going to die for it. It's now a 2v1 with League of Yorick standing by his own lonesome and 2 Squared. He just sees this as more gold for his bank. That said, Boofycrackers going to rejoin the fight. Gets the flash out of 2 Squared and is looking to chase him down. This Rengar's running for his life, but is able to heal some back before jumping to the Scuttlebutt to escape. Now, he's going right back in, going from bush to bush as Daddy arrives on the scene. Gets the first kill. Will help get the second as the passive is popped for Boofycrackers. No one else from Maroochydore is going to arrive, and that is a clean fight going to the side of Somerset.
That Rengar had a beautiful cleanse as well with his W passive coming through to be able to survive the what's it called, the what was the pull from Zach. Obviously that empowered W from the Rengar, giving him the ability to remove all CCFX. And that was just a beautiful fight by the Rengar. They're able to stack up his Conqueror and constantly heal time and time again. You see this bot lane now move into the mid lane, going to force the Galio to roam off to the side lane. They're going to start trying to influence the map by taking down this mid tower and cracking it open. So force the Kassadin to be a little bit more defensive, as he's still not scaling up. Obviously, he has gone for that Catalyst of Aeons there, so we'll be building the Rod of Ages first into the Seraph, so delaying that power spike. And thankfully for Somerset, they did roll that Infernal Dragon. I think Mountain Dragon would have been probably the worst soul they could have grabbed this game, as that extra resistances into the late game, which is what the Dragon Soul really does, is helps you in the late game not to throw a game or to continue to keep playing it through. But that Infernal Dragon getting a little bit of extra damage, be able to maybe sustain and potentially contest these late game fights if this Kassadin isn't able to one-shot them fast enough.
Yeah, I definitely feel that is going to be the case, as unfortunately for the Maroochydore side, they're almost doubling down on this late game strategy, as we did see the Callus get built, as you just mentioned, on GoVi, and this just could go from bad for worse, as Liga Yorick finally getting some attention on his own up in the top lane, but it's not the attention he wanted, as 2 squared is just doing so much damage to this Ornn. The Sunfire Cape is actually not going to be enough, and he will get dove upon and taken down once again by this Rengar.
Yeah, and an unnecessary flash there as well from...
Oh, here we go. Boofycrackers trying to get to Bennerokss, but not going to get there in time. The flashes were used by both the Ashe and the Xayah, however, so a couple key abilities gone. That said, I still think this tower is going to be under siege and may fall, especially the top tower is going to fall as well, and everything's starting to fall apart for the Maroochydore side.
Yeah, precisely right. Being able to really just double down this late game means they just lost the game, and it's difficult scale. Kassadin's not going to be online until probably 30 minutes, and it's exactly as I said in the intro to this game, right? You need to have this early game lead if you're the team that doesn't have the scaling advantage versus the Kassadin. You know, if you're 8,000 gold ahead at 25 minutes, which Somerset are well on track to do, then that is exactly what you need to win this game, right? You need to be far enough ahead to end this game before they get over. Obviously, the advantage of having a scaling comp is that, you know, no matter what, you're still always going to be relevant. But I think this bot lane lead, actually, that's been gratified here by Somerset is actually one of the biggest differences, right? The Xayah is a mid-game AD carry. If she spikes in the middle of the game of 2 items, which is unusual for most of the AD carries, or even 1 item, given the fact she has inbuilt attack speed steroids. The second Herald picked up here as well from Somerset is going to give them a huge advantage. It means that mid lane tower will be dropping very soon, and very difficult for them to really start moving through and eventually taking out the rest of this map from the side of Maroochydore, and it's looking very dire if you are Maroochydore. Obviously, there is still options. This Baron, I think, is going to be the biggest saving grace, and if they're able to pick up that Baron early on, then they should be fine. As you see, I thought the Rengar would have just jumped on the Xayah and killed her there, but obviously let her live.
I mean, you have to record, yes, he's behind, but he still is a tank, as a lot of big fights happening on the top half of the map still. These two guys just slamming into each other at the moment and slowly whittling away. It's actually Natural Requiem who is winning these trades, and Liga Yorick has to be pretty careful right now. Meanwhile, down below, Boofycrackers thinks he may have caught Bennerokss, and with the backup from the Lost Chapter, it will be enough for Abskill to secure that kill. So a nice little pick right there coming from Maroochydore, and they want more. GoVi jumping in after Daddy, but Jake 007 is there, going to drop the shield, and with that taunt help the Xerath escape at least momentarily. GoVi was looking for some more, but here comes 2 squared off the flank, actually goes straight into Boofycrackers, and he does enough to stop the Rengar assault. And some reason it looks as if Somerset is almost looking to pursue this fight, but they need to be careful because the Infernal Dragon is up.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great pick there from knowing that Ashe had dropped that flash in a previous exchange in that mid lane. Ooh, Rengar here looking for a fight.
Yeah, GoVi in a bit of trouble. It's going to actually flash over the wall, but jumping over it will be 2 squared to get 1, but 2, as the bigger cat will always claw down the smaller one, flashing forward. A triple kill for 1, 2 squared in this, as Boofycrackers doesn't want to give up the quadra. He's going to run away.
7-0, Executioner's calling picked up as well, so it's going to reduce a little bit of healing given out by that Yuumi, which as potent. Yuumi, one of the champions that once she pops off is pretty much a free kill for anyone, and the Infernal Dragon picked up, but I don't think Soul's even going to matter in this game, as they're going to get a Root Tower charge on the inhibitor at 17 minutes into this game.
Now, this is interesting. They're actually looking to get the inhibitor as well, and unless they're looking to end the game, I don't always agree with getting inhibitors at this stage, because that can be a funneling tool for Maroochydore to get more gold back for them. There is no Baron up yet. It's still about 3.5 or 2.5 minutes away, roughly, but my point is that inhibitor is not really going to be down for too long while Baron is up, so you're not going to get that map pressure in that sense. I would have liked them to have left the inhibitor.
I actually have evidence to the contrary, which is interesting because last week this exact same situation happened and I was bad, but in this situation, because Maroochydore is so far behind, gold-wise and level-wise, right, they're actually going to need 2 members to clear out these super minions, because one member like that, the Xayah cannot clear him out by herself, Kassadin can't clear him out by himself, Ornn can't clear him out by himself, which means they are required to send 2 members there at a minimum which means then they can have a man advantage around the rest of the map and potentially take down more inhibitors, or at least get them down to Nexus towers. And by the time that's happened, if you've got 2 members on this bot side of the map, they should have complete not a vision control. I mean, they have it anyways because they're just smashing this game, right? But they should have complete map control of the top side of the map, which means they're going to have 100% secured Baron. And once they have this Baron, they'll just end the game.
Oh my goodness, Boofycrackers barely escaping death momentarily, has to pop the ultimate in order to try to create some space, but here comes the artillery shots and down goes the Crackers. The mini Zacklings will fall as 2Squared gets his 8th kill of the game. That means he's legendary. More pressure coming in through the bot side. Super Minions already in the base, and I'm wondering, are Somerset thinking they can end this game?
No. They're going for mid, I think mid inhibitor.
Well, I mean, there's still 2 towers. There's 2 towers in mid lane they need to go through before they can get the inhibitor. The first tower will fall quite quickly, but yeah, a little bit ahead of themselves right now, but they can afford to be. They have over a 10K lead in less than 20 minutes.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest early game leads I think we've seen all season long. I don't think we've had a bigger lead. So we see Ornn getting poked out super heavily. Those are the games continue to go down and down, and there's just so much damage in this Somerset comp that just unanswered so far by the Maroochydore side. Kassadin hasn't even finished his first item, and it's 20 minutes into the game. And even though you have that scaling, did you just pick up the roller? They're just updated.
So that's another 10 minutes though before that item is at full strength. Like, they double down on the scaling so hard. You even see the catalyst being picked up by League of Yorick as well to go into that Abyssal Mask, and there's just going to be no time to scale unless Somerset does something crazy. But they've been playing too clean a game right now as League of Yorick has to flash to try and escape. But 2Squared, he still wants it, goes in, steals the Enchanted Crystal Arrow kill away. He's going to take a lot of tower shots, but a heal was actually used by Bennerokss to keep this Rengar healthy, and he might look to re-engage, especially with some Conqueror stats, as Natural Requiem's going to go ahead and drop Nature's Grasp in order to zone away the rest of Maroochydore as the second inhibitor will fall. This is looking like the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, a sub 20 or just past 20-minute win without Baron is very rare in League of Legends, but even rare in an organized 5v5 play where this is Swiss bracket too, so these are teams that are on the same level in terms of beating other scores, and they both played similar opponents, and yet one side is just clearly outclassing the other. As you see,
here we go. This is the final desperate play. The final chapter being dropped in the middle of everything is actually doing a fair bit of work. Is on the backside. Abskills was able to get a lot of autos down. Jack as well as 2Squared are each dead, and GoVi is looking to chase down Bennerokss. He has the damage. He'll have that kill despite the minions trying to peel and perhaps biting off a bit too much, a bit too early. Maroochydore get a big fight to go their way.
Yeah, especially since Rengar was bursted down so early too. It's a bit of a shame the kill went over to if that gold went onto Kassadin, that's really the member that they have to look towards to try and play this game. The Kassadin is their only hope. GoVi in this mid lane is the only way that they can kind of survive. But if these double supers coming in from all 3 lanes, it's kind of doomed. It's very difficult for them to really do anything. It's one of those games where it's a 99.99% win towards Somerset. And the only way they could potentially win this game is a miracle steal in this Baron into holding out versus double supers with the Baron. Kassadin eventually hitting his scaling points and getting a ridiculous team fight where he gets a massive shutdown onto all 5 members, a big old Kassadin pentakill. But with Sol going over, it's looking like it's not going to happen.
I feel like you're going to get, this next fight for Maroochydore is probably going to be against an Inferno Soul as well as a Baron on the side of Somerset, because with 3 inhibs down, you really cannot contest these initial objectives. That said, though, it looks as if Somerset might be looking to push forward yet again and maybe start the siege and only rely on that Infernal Soul, perhaps. As actually, more realistically, it looks like they're just trying to get some vision there and maybe set up a death bush for whatever reason someone from Maroochydore try and steal this dragon away. No one can afford to leave that base, however, so the Infernal Soul will go to Somerset. Baron will be next on the menu. As you can see, the pings already coming down, and things are just not looking great despite that last fight for Maroochydore.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I can say is obviously Maroochydore, it's not necessarily that the teams themselves are just different. It was just a big draft difference, right? We very clearly laid out the win objectives for both these sides. Obviously, Maroochydore was survive the early game, stay decently in the game, and then win later. And Somerset was very much punish this Zac pick, get this jungle super fed, and play the game through your jungle mid 2v2, and which they did successfully, right? They had that priority in the early game. They had that utilization of their leads in the jungle, in the mid lane, and as a result, they just have kind of just walked through this game, and it's not so much that Somerset's a ridiculously better opponent. Going into another best of 5, I wouldn't necessarily give Somerset the 100% win either. Even though they have looked like a much superior side, it's still the fact that it was just a game that got exploded. There's a 9-1-2 Rengar with 3 completed items at 23 minutes. It's kind of like you're not getting an accurate representation of both these sides' true abilities on an even game. Obviously, it's just draft difference, really, this game. There's big draft difference, and one team being able to utilize it effectively.
Yeah, I kind of question how heavily Maroochydore tried to rely on scaling in this one. I was questioning it during the picks and bans, and they really doubled down on it even when things started to go a little bit sour for them. Granted, they kind of were forced into that hole with the Kassadin lock-in, and now it's coming back to bite them as we might be looking at the big final siege for Somerset. 2 Squared is the player to watch on this Rengar, already 9-1-2. He doesn't have the 100% kill participation, so it's not a perfect game, but it has been pretty dang close as already Natural Requiem is starting to knock down those towers. This Maokai going in, drops the Nature's Grasp, is able to grab 2 of them with it. 2 Squared from down below. It's just eating 2 Kappa alive, and Liga Yorick gets jumped upon with the heroic entrance. 2 Squared guarding that stairway so no one can leave the fountain. Yes, the Rengar falls, but so does the side of Maroochydore as Somerset win and win easy.
Yeah, a very quick victory, 24 minutes, massive rank. We kind of discussed it before, right? It's just a big draft difference. Kassadin and Zach, when you pick Zach, you have to make sure you pick lanes with priority. And coupling it with the Kassadin, it just means it had nothing to do in this game. And it was very difficult for them to assist Boofycrackers when he got behind. And because these junglers were the core focal points of their team and they know how to punish mistakes so well, it was just one jungler picking an early game champion, one jungler picking a late game champion. And unfortunately, the early game team was able to play around it early on and just destroyed Maroochydore.
Yeah, and as we come to an end on this one now, I'm just going to make an executive decision, and if you disagree with me, I'm going to question your analysis abilities as a colorcaster, but 2 Squared MVP?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay. So that's well said and done.
I think...
no.
LoLQHS XD69 had the best game.
Yeah, true. Actually, he has the best name. That's very true.
Best name, so therefore MVP.
Yeah. Log XD Kappa 69. Now, definitely 2 Squared gets MVP, but I also want to throw an honorable mention to the pick that you kind of dismissed right there, daddied on the Xayah. Nearly did as much damage, actually, as 2 Squared on the Rengar. I had a quick look at the damage graphs. Both of them were miles above everyone else. So this Xayah actually did put in that work in that bot lane and kind of proved both of us wrong. We weren't a big fan of the pick, but we did recognize a way how it could work, and that's if he was accurate on that poke, and accurate he was. So a shout out to him as well. But really, this entire Somerset team, they had a strategy. It was win early, snowball it, take the game over from there, and they did just.
Yeah, exactly right. They just had that very simple early game focused draft, and they followed through very accurately, very precisely. The one thing I would like to say, though, is the Maroochidore's draft wasn't necessarily all bad, right? I think the big reason why they actually lost this game wasn't Zach or the Kassadin individually. It was the combination of both of them. When you pick a scaling champion, you need to make sure you have some kind of support for them in terms of having lane priority, right? Because the problem we saw in this game was the fact that Boofycrackers was behind and he needed support from his laners, but the Kassadin had no lane priority either, and therefore was unable to move without losing significant resources. When you're trying to play stuff like the Zach, you need to make sure you have a very aggressive laner, something like a Katarina or a Diana, something that's able to get lane priority and move and help you. Or alternative, if you're playing a Kassadin, you need a jungler that can still provide some support, so something like a Lee Sin or an Olaf, where if you are falling behind in lane, you still have the ability to be helped by the rest of your team, and you're not going to just give away the game by waiting too long, right? Yeah,
I agree with all that. The thing is, though, I think from the Maroochydore side, they were expecting to have a bit more lane pressure in the top and the bot half of the map. But credit where credit is due to both Natural Requiem and Daddied in actually getting those lanes in their favor as well. We saw the poke from Xayah was a bit too much for app skills to handle, and that meant you wouldn't get that help on the bot side of the map. And up top, Natural Requiem, kind of the silent hero almost for Somerset in keeping League of Yorick pinned down and unable to help on the top half. So really, it was losing on all fronts, essentially. And when you lose at all fronts, even with late game scaling, it just lets yourself get snowballed. You need to have something go your way so you can play through that. And unfortunately for the Maroochydore side, that was not the case today.
Yeah, exactly right. And, it was still a valiant both sides. Both played very well. And unfortunately, one team was just much better than the other team today. And I think these two sides still have potential to go very far. And I think we'll see them, come up again later in this tournament. I think both these teams will make playoffs. Somerset especially going to be a team to watch because last year they did kind of get foiled. They were very close to making our grand finals.
They were.
Our semi-finals in turn in the grand final. And they were the closest team to taking down, I would say they're probably the second best team in the state, despite not coming in the top 4 last year, which is an interesting statement, but just the way the tournament
worked. Yeah.
The brackets worked out that it just so happened the two best teams faced each other in the quarterfinals. But obviously this year, again, there's so many good teams to look out for, right? I don't know if I'd call Somerset better than Mansfield just yet, but that's mainly because I haven't seen them with a large breadth of play. I've seen a very strong game from them this game, and you can obviously tell they are quite skilled players, but that macro and that slow mid-game decision-making is the very difficult part of League of Legends. Like, if you're a 7-0 Rengar, it's I mean, obviously getting to that point requires some good net-game knowledge and skill, but once you get there, it's not very hard to close out a game. And it's that when you're in a very even game, I can't wait to see them play. And I'm actually really excited to see Somerset play against Mansfield because these are looking like the two strongest teams so far in this competition. Outside of maybe Injapilli too. Injapilli look quite strong. And all these sides, once they come together and then start playing against each other, it's going to be very intriguing to see exactly how good these teams are.
It will be, but that said, we only have one more week really of the Swiss stage before we move on to Knockoutsville, where things get really interesting. So we will be looking forward to seeing you all again next week to kind of finish off the season before we get, into the postseason. One last big thank you to Lenovo for helping put this event together as our main sponsor. So big hearts for them. Again, we love to see how they support high school scenes and the emergence of new young competitors. So we'll be looking forward to more of them and more high school League of Legends next week. Until then, I have been Formal, joined by the Mitchell Replays Henderson. We'll see you all then.
Good night, everybody.